Welcome to this Happy Campers interview series. Today I'm talking to Sara Kuljis of Yosemite Sierra Summer Camp. Welcome, Sara.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So in this series, I'm talking with camp directors from day and resident camps all over the United States about the character traits and the social and emotional skills that they are very intentional about building in their campers. And Yosemite Sierra is no exception. They just do a terrific job of really changing kids' lives for the better. So let's get started by Sara. I just would love for you to tell about your background and just what you love about working with kids and how you got involved at YSSC.
Well, sure. I grew up as a camp kid. My parents worked at a large conference center when I was a child, and when I was 10 years old, they found a beautiful little site in the Sierra, and they started Yosemite Sierra Summer Camp. So I grew up as a camp staff kid. I was a camper there. I worked on staff. I was the good fortune of going to other programs as a camper and working at other programs. And my parents were really wanted to make sure that my siblings and I understood that lots of good things happen at lots of good camps in different ways. I headed off to college and had a couple careers, and I didn't mean to be a second generation camp director. That wasn't in my plan. But about 5 years after I married my husband, Steve, he was the one who said, what if we quit our careers and took over the camp from your parents? And initially I said, oh, no, you just don't understand how much work is involved and what that'll take from the family. Anytime you work with youth, there's sacrifices to make. And so I was reticent at first, but about 2 months later, I really felt strongly that this was what we should be doing as well. So we quit our careers, we bought the camp from my folks, and we have never looked back. It's been a very cool journey to be co-executive directors with your husband. We've learned all kinds of things, and we kind of joke that between his skills and my skills, we kind of almost make one decent camp director. And then since that time, we've also started a day camp, Emerald Cove Day Camp in San Juan Capistrano, for little kids, for 5 to 10-year-olds. We also do outdoor science with the public schools in Big Bear. And then one of our biggest joys is starting a nonprofit called Star Rock Ministries. And we raise funds, design program, and invite at-risk children to come for life-changing camp experiences. So it's kind of been a whole deal.
Yeah, and you're also very involved in the American Camp Association.
Yes.
You're a mentor. Okay, so Sara, going back your career right before camp, weren't you working in a nonprofit that was with children also?
Yes, I was working youth development for at-risk kids in Santa Ana, a really remarkable organization called The Wooden Floor. And prior to that, I was in public relations, and then my education's in nutrition. So, some of us just have a meandering path, but the beauty is all the skills and knowledge that you collect along the way equips you to do the next thing.
Absolutely. The other thing that I've really enjoyed watching with you in recent years is your interest and the training that you've been getting in the area of strengths. Can you talk a little bit about that, about what you're doing in that area?
Oh, I've just so appreciated this opportunity. A couple years ago, I was certified as a Gallup's Strength Finder coach. And it has been a great journey to work with individuals and work teams to identify natural talents, really help people understand what helps them thrive and engages them most in their work, and then really thoughtfully aim their talents to do and accomplish really terrific things, especially working in teams. Mm-hmm. So we do that with our own staff at camp, and then getting to work with other camp staffs, and also the vast number of college students that work with us each year to help them realize that how they're made naturally is spectacular, and to really chase those talents.
So right before we started recording, we were talking a bit about how sometimes parents get a little caught up in thinking that there's just this one way for kids to succeed, and that everyone has to take the same classes and do the same things. And we were talking about just a different perspective that you promote at your camp, which is helping kids find where they get their own joy.
Yes.
And helping them pursue those things, which is very much a strengths-based type of
Absolutely.
thing.
We really aren't all designed to
No.
be experts at STEM. We're not all designed to be experts in every single field. And to really help kids and young adults, and frankly ourselves, identify what brings us the greatest joy, what comes naturally, what's our biggest contribution to each other's lives and at work and to our families, and then celebrating that and focusing on that. It's all about being a team. So you bring your strengths, I'll bring my strengths, and we can do some pretty awesome things together. I think we put a lot of pressure on kids to be so well-rounded, to be perfect at every turn. And our kids are growing up under a lot of pressure.
Right.
And it's not healthy, and it's causing increased anxiety. That's a whole other podcast.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But one antidote to this is summer camp.
Absolutely.
And Yosemite Sierra Summer Camp is a program where you do a lot of things that really help kids find that joy, and bringing out some of their better qualities and helping them feel better about themselves. So first, before we get into too much about your philosophy, talk about where Yosemite Sierra Summer Camp is, how long your sessions are, how old kids are when they come, all that good stuff.
Well, sure. Yosemite Sierra Summer Camp, we call it YSSC, is located in Bass Lake, California. That's just south of the southern entrance to Yosemite National Park. And we're a Christian adventure camp for kids 8 years old to 16. So that's going into third grade all the way going into 10th or 11th grade. We offer 4 2-week sessions, and we're very whole child focused. We're really driven to help every camper grow socially, emotionally, physically, and spiritually as well. We're on a non-denominational Christian program, and really weave all that growth together. So it's an integrated experience, and it's just a blast.
So it is a Christian focused camp. But I think a lot of people are more familiar with sort of like church camp, like when you go with your group from church to a place for a shorter stay. Talk about just a little bit about how it's different.
Sure.
Your program is a different setup from that.
Sure. We are very different than, say, the larger conference center style camps, which are a wonderful and important experience for kids. We're more of a hybrid, a blend of the traditional camp experience with that faith-based program. So our kids don't come with a big group from church. They register independently and come on their own. All the staff is our own staff, trained by us, which stays the whole season. And our staff really are the hallmark of our program. Remarkable young adults who are wholesome role models and guides for our kids. Let's see what else about our program. Where a conference center or a church camp is pretty singularly focused on learning about the gospel and faith development, we really weave that into all the rest of our program. So our mission is to help kids grow in character, skills, relationships, and faith. And we find that when faith can inform and enrich our friendships, and our faith can fuel our courage and our interest in building new skills and trying new things. And when our faith is kind of our rudder with character development, with wholesomeness and honesty and integrity and empathy, then those pieces really weave together. And I go home from camp not just with a mountain top experience that I leave there, but I go home from camp understanding how those facets all work together. We really do see that children own their faith in a new way. It's not just kind of a hand-me-down experience from mom and dad or from our youth pastor. And it's just been a wonderful and effective, productive way to shape kids.
And I think, like you said, it's much more integrated. They're not just sitting around all day with the Bible. They are living life, and it's being integrated, which I think is really, really great for the kids. Sarah, what if someone is not a kind of a church-going family? How comfortable is it? Would it be going to YSSC if you don't regularly go to church?
It's a really good question. About 75% of our campers come from homes where they attend some kind of denomination, some kind of Christian church. Some are very involved in church and very devout, and then some, might go Christmas and Easter. And camp is ideal for that. We're gentle in how we share God's love. We're very practical with how we apply stories from the Bible to say, what can we learn from this? And then about 20%, 25% of our campers come from families that have no church background whatsoever. And it's a delight to share God's love and grace with those kids. And again, doing it very gently along the way so that it is a source of empowerment and self-acceptance and not something that's scary or unfamiliar. We also have a number of families from different faith backgrounds, Jewish families, some Muslim families. In fact, a few years ago, we had one of our longtime Jewish families change the date of the bar mitzvah so that their camper could still go to the same session with the friends that he had made the many years before. And just to work with that family for the best interests of the camper was really a sweet experience.
Yeah, that's so fabulous. So I think that's just one thing really important to know is that although they're a Christian-based adventure camp, it's really open to anyone. Faith will be talked about, and they will be looking at the gospel and the Bible, but it's not in a way that would be uncomfortable for someone who's unfamiliar with it, which is a really nice aspect of your program. So Sara, let's talk a little bit about, you're very intentional. I've known you for a long time. I know that you are always really seeking ways to make sure that you're benefiting your campers so much during the time that they're there, which is mostly 2 weeks, as you mentioned. So you talked already a little bit about the spiritual part and how it's all integrated. Let's talk about some of your other main focuses, the way you train your staff to just make sure that the kids are really growing in their skills while they're at camp.
Sure. I think that the first thing you and I had talked about, what do we put in place intentionally so when a camper arrives at camp, they feel well connected and at home right away. And some of those steps would be inviting parents to fill out a personality profile before the camper even arrives. And all of our counselors study their campers before they get off the bus or get out of the car, so that they're not starting on ground zero with those kids, but they know what their hobbies are. They know what their expectations and maybe fears are. They know a little more about their temperament. We really want that. Every camper to feel known and valued and that they belong as soon as possible. The first few days of the session are programmed very intentionally so that I'm really getting to know my cabin, and we're building a cabin family and a cabin identity. After about 3 days of feeling very anchored to each other in that little family, then we open up programming to reach out and get to know other kids as well. So there's some really thoughtfulness about that to work with kids to feel that they belong. And then some of the other intentional parts of our program, and I do get teased for being over intentional sometimes.
Can never be
one of the biggest things that we make sure happens at camp is a culture of affirmation. We've talked about that before. Our culture with social media, with television, with politics, just even on the playground, it can be a culture of put downs, a culture of sarcasm and criticism, and even our youngest children pick up that vibe. I've watched even little boys to good friends say, "Hey, loser, what's up?" Not realizing that is discouraging and derogatory toward their very good friend. So we really build in a culture. We don't use sarcasm. We build in a culture where there's many times during the day for a staff member to affirm a camper, and not just for what they look like, and not even just for their achievements, but to go to a deeper level where they're really affirming their character and their presence. So one example of that, all of our counselors tuck our kids in to bed at night, standing at their bunk. Tell me about your day. What was your highlight? What did you learn? What can I pray for you for? But also to say, I saw you today. I saw you reach out to that shy younger camper, and I really appreciate that you did that. You were very thoughtful with how you included her, and I really admire that. To have moments, even privately or in front of others, where you're calling out character traits, so that child feels like, just who I am is enough. not only modeling and receiving affirmation from staff, but providing campers with opportunities to affirm each other face to face. So much scarier than interacting like this, right? We build in opportunities throughout the session, like one of our favorites is called Flower Sunday, and it's after chapel midway through the session. And everybody at camp, every staff member from the kitchen staff to the office staff and the boat drivers and the backpack guides and the counselors, and every single camper gets a daisy. And Audrey, I think of someone who I want to affirm, someone who's done something kind for me, someone who's done something I admire, and I go to them and I give them my flower. And I might say, thank you for being my first friend off the bus. Or thank you for seeing that I was nervous when we were going up on the high ropes course. And you went right ahead of me and said you would show me how to do it. That really helped me. And the goal is for every camper to give away a flower. And when they get one, they give it away too. And hopefully we all end up with empty hands. Campers will also put a flower in the grill of our big bus, who might have driven them up the mountain to go backpacking, or they might leave a flower on the kitchen counter. Just to remind the kitchen staff that they appreciate the good food. But kind of building opportunities in through the daily flow of those 2 weeks is really important.
Yeah, the affirmation piece. So Sarah, in addition to running your camp, you also do quite a bit of parent education and about parenting. So let's just, well, as we talk about these things, also you can share, what can parents do at home to kind of do the same kind of affirmation practice? What do you have any suggestions for parents?
Yes, and this one was hard earned. Sometimes as parents, we ask, how was school? How was the test? Did you study enough? And there's kind of that constant push of, you got to be better. You got to be better. We look at the C on the report card rather than all the A's and B's. And so through the years, Steve and I have also had to learn to take a moment and celebrate those wonderful things about our kids that are naturally built into them. So one of the practices we do is called highs and lows, woes and bros. And that's at the end of the day. It could be around the dinner table or as you're tucking in, to ask your kiddo what was a highlight for them, because their highlights are sometimes different than ours. It might not be those 2 goals in the soccer game. It actually might be that a teacher called on them for the first time and they felt seen. Or someone remembered their birthday and brought them a gift to school. So asking a child what their high was, and then asking your kiddos what their low was, and letting them have a low. Sometimes days are hard. I got embarrassed about this at school. I didn't get invited to this. And not rushing to solve it, but saying it's okay to talk about what's hard. I'm here for you. I hear you. Wow, that does sound hard.
That's like affirming their emotions.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's affirming that it's okay. That's okay. And that's part of life to feel that way.
Right. Yeah. And you're still loved and you still belong. And those are human feelings.
Yes.
And we don't have to hide those under the rug. Yeah. Really important. So that's the high and the low. And then a woe is something that surprised you that day. Some moment of awe, something that might have been an amazing sunset, or it might have been something incredible or even funny that happened at school, or something very small and sweet that they saw. But one of my daughter's woes recently is she heard a song that she had never heard before, and she thought it was beautiful. And, you know, when a 15-year-old freshman will say, Mom, I heard this beautiful song. Can I play it for you? You know, I want her to have moments of awe. Reminds us that the universe doesn't just circle around us, but that there's a bigger world. And then the last one, and this goes back to the affirmation, the bro, highs, woes, lows, bros. It is a masculine term, but a bro is like, you're my bro. And it's to name something, affirm someone who you appreciated that day. And it might be a teacher that was helpful. It might be Dad for doing my dishes after dinner. Sasha gave Steve a bro last night. He did the dishes. Sweet, Thanks, sweet. Man. It might be when she FaceTimes her big brother at college and he helps her with physics. But a bro is it reminds us to have eyes on other people and be grateful and thank them for what they did. So that's one way to take affirmation home.
Sure. And we've taken this on. We used to do highs and lows. We've now added woes and bros.
Good.
And I do appreciate, because I think some of it, like my son, he will consistently like point out like that my husband who cooked a nice dinner is his bro. It's just that opportunity to practice complimenting and thanking other people, which sometimes we forget to do. So I love that practice. Okay, so let's talk about another intentional practice at your camp, kind of around the friendships and social skills.
This one's hugely important. I appreciate there's a whole chapter in your book on friendship. Sometimes friendships come easy to individuals, and sometimes we really do need help and coaching to figure out how to do that well. So at camp, we build in many opportunities to intentionally coach friendships, and we kind of have two different buckets of skills. One is friend making skills. And those are hugely important. It's initiating conversation, warmth, smiling, introducing yourself, including someone, eye contact, all those good friendship initiating or making skills. But then, oh my goodness, where the rubber meets the road are the friendship keeping skills.
Absolutely.
And those take more thought, maturity, certainly more effort. And sometimes where we find hiccups, and sometimes that's where we as parents meddle and we can make it worse. Friendship keeping skills are skills like listening well, compromise, putting someone's needs before your own, forgiving, conflict resolution. I so appreciate the opportunity to have 2 weeks at camp, not just a weekend or 5 days, 4 nights, because probably during that 2 weeks, something's going to come up in a cabin group where a counselor then can model how we talk about this. How do we come to consensus? How do we resolve this conflict? And how do we choose to forgive each other? So friendship keeping skills are really what, kind of separate, maturity from raw relationships. And that's really huge for us.
Yeah, for sure. You know what? Before we go on, I want to make sure you say how big the groups are.
Oh, sure.
At camp, and how big your overall camp is, because I think that's really key to part of your program in terms of friendships.
Sure.
So how many kids are in each group, and how does that work?
Great. Well, cabin groups are built by gender and by age and grade. So, similar grade by gender. And then we have a maximum of 7 campers to 1 consistent counselor for the 2 weeks. Additional grown-ups at staff pour into every cabin as well. So every cabin has aunts and uncles, but that 1 consistent counselor really is their parent for the session. And our whole camp, we're a small program. We have 135 campers a session, and we have a staff of 70. So that's a family of 200. And over the course of 2 weeks, a camper can grow to know everyone. And it really does feel like a family.
Yeah. So when we were talking before about how the first 3 days you're really focused on getting to know those other campers in your small group, your own counselor, but then you get more comfortable as you get involved in the community, and then probably the kids are making friends with older, younger.
Absolutely.
All over the place. That's so great.
Your cabin group may have a skateboarding activity on the half pipe together, but after dinner we're going to play a whole camp game in costume and lots of silly craziness. So I am playing with the full 200, and there's a place for little brothers and little sisters and big brothers and big sisters. It really does feel like a family.
So great. So Sara, what about friendship coaching can parents learn and kind of bring
that's
home?
Good. This is a simple one, but I think it's really effective. And that is for parents to be watching their kids' friendships, just from afar, not meddling, that's different, but watching and once a week or even more often than that, to name for your kids the aspects of their friendships that are healthy and that you admire. It may be, wow, I really like how you're such a good listener with your friend Michael. That really shows that you care about him, and I think it really helps him feel safe. You're such a good listener. Well, that tells a child that listening in friendship is really important. Sometimes my own kiddos might be learning how to be good friends, and I can name something that one of their friends does, like, I appreciate how much Emily makes you laugh. She's so lighthearted. And even if things are hard and discouraging, she has a way of being optimistic. That's one of my favorite things about your friendship with Emily. So, just finding those sweet moments in friendships, and it reinforces for kids what's important. So it's catching a kiddo doing something good.
Well, and I think it's a little bit as a parent, so it's a little easier at camp when we have this group
Mhm.
setting to be very intentional, like, oh, we're going to talk about like good listening, or we're going to do this activity. But at home, it's a little more awkward. So I love that idea of just having parents just pointing out something positive in a relationship so that the kids then they're learning. That's a great way for them to learn. You can also, I would think parents could point out things about their own friends.
Absolutely.
Like commenting like, oh my gosh, I was really busy today, and this friend like called me from the market and asked if she could pick something up. I think it's just that constant reminding of that being a good friend piece. So I love that you are, that's great advice for parents, just to be aware and pointing it out, because we tend to be, we're all kind of wired to focus on the negative.
Right.
So parents tend to be more aware of friendship problems than the great things going on in our kids' relationships.
Right.
So how great to let our kids hear more from us. Oh, this is what I want to look for more.
Right.
So,
That's a
so
really good, kids watch us all the time, right? So how we model our relationships is loud to them. So if I'm gossiping a lot, or I'm being derogatory about a friend, I'm reinforcing the wrong thing. And I appreciate that's really wise to point out things about our own friendships that we appreciate.
Sure.
To remind them that being a grown up and having good friends is a cool thing.
And you have to keep working at it.
Yeah.
Okay. So one more thing that we were going to talk about is just sort of your very adventure-based camp. So there are some things that are quite challenging for kids. So what's your philosophy around that, and what you're intentional about teaching kids in terms of like challenging and themselves?
Great question. Well, we have over 20 activities, everything from traditional camp activities like archery and crafts and the nature center. But we also have a lot of lake-based activities, water skiing and banana boating and kayaking and canoeing. And then also being in the Sierra, there's high ropes and backpacking and hiking. So there's a myriad of things. And most campers haven't done those things before or aren't experts in them. We really want kids to come to camp and try something new, to take on a challenge. Human beings are wired to learn through challenge. When we, as parents, snowplow so much ahead of them that there's nothing to learn from, we actually aren't equipping them with the resilience and the perseverance and confidence to work through some of those things. So we do build in age appropriate, positive challenge, and let kids have a voice around it. If they're nervous, let's talk about it. If they need support, let's be there for each other. And man, let's celebrate every incremental success. For example, if I'm climbing that 45-foot pamper pole, and I'm all roped up, I have my helmet, and my counselor's on the other end of the rope, the one I trust the most, encouraging me. If I'm 9, maybe getting halfway up that pamper pole is my point of success. And that is awesome. If I'm 12 or 14, I might, and I've done it before, I might actually go up blindfolded. And that is my next challenge and point of success. So really supporting kids in challenge, helping them know that they don't have to be an expert at everything, and also realizing what challenges are different for different kids. For some, it might be that ropes course, or the half pipe, or marksmanship, or backpacking. But for others, it might be making a new friend, initiating a conversation with someone they don't know. It might be choosing an outfit that meets the need of the day. That might be the challenge. And that's a really important life skill, and that's really worthwhile. So age appropriate, thoughtful, positive challenge is really important to us.
So I think what about how can parents bring that home? Like, what are your ideas for that? Because I think that is, for some reason, to me, it feels a little harder at home to challenge our kids. When they're not with us, they tend to be a little braver.
It's true. They are braver
when they're not with us, and to try new things. But what can parents kind of, how can they continue this sort of like momentum maybe that they've been getting at camp at home?
That's a great question. Two things pop into mind. One is to remember to let our kids do for themselves what they can do. Sometimes we keep doing for them, and there's a point at which, okay, honey, you actually can get yourself up in the morning and make your lunch. Or, okay, honey, you can help make the mashed potatoes at Thanksgiving. You can mash that and you're ready for that. Or you can plant that yourself. Or when it's taught, my husband had to remind me when my kids were in 6th grade, okay, they can start doing their laundry now. Oh yeah, I had forgotten. They're very capable. They can all do their laundry by 6th grade. So making sure that our kids are trying new things and not doing for them when they're able. So that would be one. And I think the other thing is just being lighthearted and reminding our kids that they don't have to be an expert in everything. Try something new. Over Christmas, I learned to surf. And it's not necessarily pretty, and I am a longboard whitewater queen, okay? But to try something for the first time and really enjoy the fun of it for the fun of it. As parents, we can remind kids it's not about being an expert at everything. It's about being open-hearted and taking on challenges and developing the skill set that says, let's just try it. Let's see what comes of this.
Well, I know that kids bring a lot of the things that they learn at YSSC, they bring home with them. It benefits them way beyond the couple weeks they're at camp. So what do you hear from parents? Like, what are some of the feedback that you get, especially from your longtime campers? What are some of the ways that you feel like kids are changed from their time at camp?
That is a great question. I so often kids will say, at camp, I feel free to be myself. That intrigues me. I think it does remind us that kids have a lot of pressure at home to be all kinds of things. We're a no tech camp. And so being free from the pressure of Snapchat and who likes and who, just to be friends face to face. Kids often will say, I make my deepest friendships there. I feel like I'm my best self there. And there's something about that affirming and fun and silly and gentle and challenging environment that I think brings out the best in them. I also brought a little quote from
fun. Please read it.
This is just something was written by a mom who had a number of kids go through our program for several years. And it was just so succinct. It meant a lot to me that she wrote this and how she wrote this. She said, "Thank you for helping us raise our son. He comes home from camp each summer more peaceful, more compassionate, and a more grateful young man. He has a stronger sense of himself, more confidence and independence. He also understands more about God's love and grace. Camp is definitely woven into the fabric of his life." And I just, it actually, when we got this, I did get choked up a little bit. It's such a privilege to be a part of helping shape children and youth, and that a family would invite Yosemite Sierra to be a part of that. We get, as parents, we get to the place where our kids can't hear us as well anymore, but we can choose the other voices that speak into their lives. And it's a wonderful thing to be invited into a family and say, carry on the messages that we've been sharing at home. What is the best way to help shape these kids as they grow?
I was just recently, I can't remember where I heard it, but I was hearing about the importance of that third voice for kids, those other adults in their life, not their parents, who pour into them. It sometimes could be an aunt or an uncle, but for sure, like camp counselors, because they're just that little bit age, just a couple years ahead of them. It's so important. I think we sometimes start feeling like we're in a silo and we have to do this all by ourselves. And you and I both know how much help we've received from other adults who have been such terrific role models for our kids. So I love that YSSC is that for your families. That's such a great thing. Sara, if people want to learn more about Yosemite Sierra Summer Camp and they're thinking about it for this summer, where can they find you and how can they connect with you?
Well, our website is yssc.com. And there's just that website's packed with all kinds of information about us, including dates and rates. But we also would love to talk with you and kind of consider with you is YSSC the fit for your kids. So call us. The number is 800-775-9772. We also have gatherings, mostly in Southern California, where families get together and we get to meet them and answer their questions. Campers themselves have a lot of questions, and it's fun to directly address straight to a kid's face, the things they're concerned about or excited about. And then we have a couple times during the year that we gather together. We have a reunion every fall in the Newport Beach area. And then every March, the first Saturday of March, we go to Disneyland. And it's our staff with quite a number of campers. It's a great way, even for kids who are considering Yosemite Sierra or new to Yosemite Sierra, to make some friends and get to know our culture and our humor, and to have that adventure in, we call it the second happiest place on earth. At Disneyland. And then also parents can grow to see our style of supervision and attentiveness. So that's every March.
Okay, wonderful. We'll put links in the comments so you can access both their website and the information about the upcoming events. I just want to make sure people know too that even if they're not in this area in Southern California, you do have kids from other areas as well.
Oh, absolutely.
So you don't need to be from Southern California area to go to YSSC. So if families are not in this area, they can call, they can kind of connect with you online and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. We have probably 20% of our campers, the majority of our campers are from Southern California, because word of mouth is how we grow to trust programs our kids are involved in. But about 20% of our kids are not in the Southern California area, Northern California, other states, other countries. And they typically fly to Fresno, which is the closest airport to Bass Lake, and we'll pick them up there and bring them into the family. But call us. We would love to connect with you and see if YSSC is the fit.
Yes, for sure. Well, Sara, this has been so awesome. Thank you for being on the Happy Campers interview series.
I hope,
and thank you for listening, and for sure get in touch with Yosemite Sierra Summer Camp if you feel like it might be a good match for your family.